In the last lecture, I talked about this political philosophy of Aristotle, and in that, I talked about this life and important events uh, of the life of Plato. And apart from that, I talked about this important events and the turning points which influenced or molded the philosophy and the thought of this Plato. So here and today we'll begin with this Aristotle encyclopedic contributions. So Aristotle knowledge was encyclopedic. He wrote on ethics, metaphysics, on art and poetry, on economics and politics, on physics and mechanics, on physiology, medicine, on astronomy and logic. This scientific research, philosophical reflections, scientific research, philosophical reflection, educational activity were intimately linked in Aristotle's life and work. Aristotle was a prolific writer. His early work, Protracticus, was soon followed by metaphysics, physics, rhetoric, and this Eudaimonian ethics, politics, and this Nicomachean ethics, the categories uh, on interpretation and the prior analytics. Basically, you will see here his history of animals deals with the classification of animals, okay, which I talked about yesterday. Whereas on the part of animals deals with biological sciences. Uh, his other works which deal with the animals are uh, on the progression of animals and on the generation of animals. So, if you will look into his physics, he has dealt with the principle of natural bodies and natural emotions. So, all of these were his major writings and in different areas. But we do not need to bother about that. Uh, we will focus on his famous work in the domain of politics. Aristotle was a prolific writer, many famous works in almost every domain of knowledge was attributed to him. Here is a brief summary of two of his important works in the area of political science. So we'll talk about his brief summary of his two important. The number one is Nicomachean ethics, and number two is politics. Uh, Nicomachean ethics. Nicomachean ethics is widely considered as one of the most important philosophical work of Aristotle. It is based on the lecture that he delivered at the Lyceum. Uh, the work was either edited by his son Nicomachus or it was dedicated to him uh, In his work, Aristotle describes a complementary relationship of ethics with politics. He is describing what it's Kidatki having a complementary relationship between the ethics and politics. So it is concerned with the issue of good life for a human being and how virtue is a component of his good life. So, the one of the most important thing here, the point which he concerned is the issue of good life for a human being, and the second thing is how virtue is a component of this good life. And this Nicomachean ethics was translated in 1908 by William David Ross. So this Aristotle has written this in the Greek, and later on it was translated in 1908 by this William David Ross, and first published in English by Calaran Press, Oxford. So this was the summary of his the writing of the Nicomachean Ethics. So the two things that you need to keep in the mind. The whole this book Nicomachean Ethics had based on his lecture, whatever he delivered at his academy, that is the last. And his son, this book was edited by his son Nicomachean and dedicated to Aristotle. And here, the major thing, one of the most important, is that he's talking about the relationship of ethics with politics and the issue of good life for a human being, all these things. So we'll talk about his second best writing, that is the politics. So Aristotle's political theory is found mainly in his politics. So you will find uh, the foundation basis, and it is a systematic exposition of Aristotle's teleological views about the state, citizen, and slavery. It also contains comparative analysis of constitutions and an empirical study of causes and prevention of revolution in a state. So basically, you will find here so, as I was briefing you regarding this politics, so it is a systematic exposition of this Aristotle's teleological views on the estate and citizen and slavery. So here you will find the three things about his views on estate, citizen, and slavery. So here the point is that What do you mean by teleology? Yes. Do you know the meaning of teleology? Yes. Do you know the meaning of this?
No,
Sir, so teleology, in my view, is explanation of a particular phenomena. मतलब कि, explanation of a particular phenomena in terms of purpose, yes, sir, rather than the cause by which they arise. That's all.
Uh, okay. You can say, as Pius stated, ki it's the explanation of phenomena by the purpose they serve rather than the postulated causes. So it's a doctrine of design and the purpose in the material world. So basically, in the short, you can understand the goal oriented, having certain end in the mind while talking about that. So after that, you will find it also contains a comparative analysis of constitutions. And you know this Aristotle has done the comparative study of the constitution of 158 countries. And on that basis, he talked about which is the base form of the government. And and also he has done an empirical study of cases and prevention of revolution in a state. How, what are the causes of the revolution and how we can prevent the revolution in a state. So we'll brief you about the politics and its different books. Here, its book refers to the chapter. So the politics book number one introduces the treatise with the explanation of correlation of politics to ethics. So basically, here in the first book, you will find the introduction of the treatise, and also you will find the explanation of the correlation of politics and ethics. And the book two of politics deals with the criticism of Plato and his ideal state. So basically, you will find uh, whatever the concept of the Plato regarding the state and Plato concept of an ideal state, which I discussed in the previous lecture, and Aristotle is criticizing the Plato concept of an ideal state. So his critique you will find in the book number two, and the book number three it deals with citizenship, and the book three of politics you will find it deals with the citizenship whomsoever are entitled for the citizenship, normal and perverted form of the constitution. So here you will understand about the eligibility for the citizenship, who all are considered to be the citizen according to Aristotle, and his normal and the perverted form of the constitution. He has classified the constitution into two categories. One is the normal, and second is perverted. So perverted refers to the worst form. If that form of the government will be corrupted, then how it seems that has portrayed in the perverted form. So you will find all these things in the book number three. Book number four deals with the various form of government, and in this book four he talks about the various forms of government, democratic, authoritarian, monarchy, many other forms, oligarchy. And in book 5 and 6 of politics, it deals with the oligarchy and democracy. So basically, he talked about the two things in the book number 5 and 6 regarding the oligarchy and the democracy. And in the book number 7, Aristotle discusses the constitution of an ideal state, which is polity. So he is saying and portraying which is the base form of the government, according to the Aristotle, that is the polity. So we'll discuss about that in details in upcoming lectures. And in book number 8, you will find it develops the point discussed in the book number 7. So all these things you will find here. And this Professor Warne Jagger uh, is of the opinion that the treatise was written at the two different stages. इनका कहना है प्रोफेसर वार्नर का कि ये जो ट्रेटाइज है ये दो अलग अलग स्टेजेस में लिखे गए हैं. The first stage deals an influence of his teacher on him. एक इन्फ्लुएंस में आपको जो एरिस्टोटल के टीचर हैं प्लेटो उनका इन्फ्लुएंस मिलेगा आपको. और वहीं पे जो and in this section Aristotle discussed about the ideal state and tried to contain various theories prevailing at that time. और वहीं पे जो second part है, this is the available to us in the book. ये जो मैंने आपको बताया कि जो he is discussing about the ideal state and condemning the various theories that were prevalent at that point of the time. So all of these things are available to us in the book number 2, 2, 3, 6, 7. And this stage continues till the death of Plato. And the second stage can be one in one Aristotle left Athens and studied different world constitutions. और इस समय पे एरिस्टोटल जो है वो डिफरेंट डिफरेंट कंट्रीज के कॉन्स्टिट्यूशंस को स्टडी करते हैं. And he has studied 158 constitutions of different countries and saw the things as this were. And he saw the advantages and disadvantages of oligarchy and democracy. And this stage is expressed in the books of this treatise. So this was a brief summary of his writings, and especially I focused on the two things. One is the Nicomachean ethics, and the second, the best writing is the politics. And I discussed about because we will more focus on the politics, and I briefed you about his original book and its parts and its summary in which part or to which book it deals with or which sections or the theories. So now we'll talk about Aristotle methodology. So this Aristotle methodology. Aristotle brought new methodology to the study of politics, which was hitherto unknown before him. This methodology was unknown to the study of politics. As against this deductive method of Plato, he employed inductive method. प्लेटो जो है employ किया उन्होंने deductive methods को and he employed Aristotle inductive method which proceeds from particular to general. किसी जैसे आप मान लीजिए कि यू हैव डिसाइडेड सर्टेन थिंग एंड जस्ट बाय एडिंग ऑन इन अ स्पेसिफिक से आप जनरल की तरफ पहुंचते हैं बाय एडिंग इन दैट इंडक्टिव and can be effectively employed by a person who has scientific temper और इसको कौन employ कर सकता है better way में who is holding the scientific temper. Aristotle employed scientific method in the study of politics. He studied each institution with keen insight before commenting on it. So before just giving any comments, critique, or any kind of the words over that, he studied it in details, understood it, and only then commented. So, as a conservative scientist, Aristotle attempted to systematize the existing knowledge instead of claiming to be a philosopher. And his main task was to systematize the existing knowledge rather than claiming to be a philosopher. So he had a precise outlook about the things and the methods which he was to follow. So we'll talk about that one by one now only. So any question till now?
No, sir.
No, sir.
So the first one is the observation. Uh, we'll talk about the first thing which he has followed. The method is observation. So what do you mean by observation?
Perceive something.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Aristotle, in his entire life, observed more than he thought. So he more focused on the observation rather than thought. So all his works are based on the collection of facts which came under his keen observation and analysis. Uh, he was always careful and conscious that his observation should not be based on superfluous knowledge. So, this professor Ernest Bach, in his writing, The Political Thought of Plato and Aristotle, says the essence of his procedure was observation and registration of all relevant data. And the object of his study was, in each case, to discover some general theory. And the second thing is empiricism, is the second feature, empiricism. So, throughout the history of political thought, Aristotle is known as the first empirical thinker. He was in the history, he is considered as the first empirical thinker. He had a clear and verifiable approach to the problem which confronted him. So he believed in the realistic and objective type of study. So his major focus and belief was in the realist, not an idealist, which Plato talks about. It's the ideal concept of an state. He's focusing on the realism, which can be achieved in the society, which is in practice. So, and the objective type of study. That so the realist and empirical approach has made him immortal. So the third method which we'll talk about is comparison. Comparison. Some of the modern thinkers are inclined to give him the title of the father of political science only because he employed comparative method to the study of 158 constitutions of his time and arrive at scientific classification because he was the first who done this comparative applied this comparative method and used the comparative to study after studying the constitution of 108 countries and reaching at scientific classification. The next method is teleology. Aristotle pursued teleology to analyze and investigate political phenomena. He strongly believed that nature is a purposive system because there is teleology in nature. Uh, the teleology rests on four causes, which are the uh, material cause, efficient cause, formal cause, and final cause. So he is talking about the teleology, and he is also saying, having a strongly belief, that nature is a purposive system, and there is teleology in nature. So जो ये teleology की जो बात कर रहे हैं, which that lies on four causes, which rests on four causes. चार इसके कारण हैं जिस पे ये rest करते हैं. So the number one is the material cause, number two is efficient cause, and number third is formal cause, and number fourth is final cause. So, as an explanation, Aristotle gives an analogy of a stone sculpture and identifies the four causes. ये जो हमने आपको चार causes बताए, material cause, efficient cause, formal cause, and final cause. So इसका explanation जो है Aristotle अपने एक concept है जो कि इनका an analogy of a stone sculpture के through ये identify करते हैं चार causes. So you can understand by this, the shape of the sculpture will be the consequence of the kind of the stone material. So जो shape है किसी sculpture का कोई मूर्ति बनाया जा रहा है या कुछ तो वो जो shape आ रहा है उसमें sculpture का so वो किसका consequences है कि the kind of the stone used and the kind of the stone used is depicting the material cause. And the second is the technique and tools the sculpture uses in working on the piece of stone. So this is showing what the efficient cause, which is the second cause on which this terminology lies. So which kind of the technology and tools this sculpture is using in the working on the piece of a stone to give the final shape. So this is the efficient cause. And the third, the idea of the statue that the sculpture has in the mind. So एक certain kind का image होता है, एक idea होता है कि हमें ऐसा statue बनाना है. That is in the mind. So this is depicting the formal cause. And the last, the sculpture's purpose in making the sculpture, जो उसको बनाने के पीछे का जो इस sculpture को जो sculptures का purpose है उसको बनाने के लिए the making behind its purpose is the final cause. So this way you can understand the four causes on which this technology lies. एक कि आपका material cause क्या है, second efficient cause क्या है, थर्ड फॉर्मल कॉज क्या है and fourth, final quadrature. So that thing has been explained by Aristotle with the help of an analogy of a stone sculpture. Is it clear to everyone? Any question on this? Aristotle applied this teleological approach to, so यही जो उनका teleological approach है जो एरिस्टोटल अप्लाई करते हैं टू स्टडी दी स्टेट को स्टडी करने के लिए, स्टेट के नेचर को जानने के लिए, उसके ओरिजिन एंड उसके पर्पस को जानने के लिए. इज इट क्लियर? एनी क्वेश्चन? एनी क्वेश्चन?
So, according to Aristotle, what you said that observation
Observation.
should not based on according to
You are
Aristotle.
talking
Sir.
about which point, which method? Right now, I'm talking about
First, sir.
teleology.
First, sir.
Huh?
No, sir. Not in the terminology. On first point, sir. Observation.
Observation. Okay, I discussed till now these four methods. First is observation, second is empiricism, third is comparison, and fourth is teleology. Okay, so you are asking under this first methodology, that is observation.
Yes, sir.
So can you repeat the question?
So, on what observation should not based on according to Aristotle, sir?
No, his point is that कि rather than focusing on thinking कि आपने कुछ एक आइडिया इमेजिन कर लिया, ठीक है, और वो प्रैक्टिस में होगा नहीं होगा, आप इमेजिन करने को तो कुछ भी कर सकते हैं. But his entire life is based on observation. He is giving more primacy to observation. So that's why you will find in his all works are his works are based on a collection of facts. Understood? He is focusing more on observation, on the reality. Understood? Which is in existence. Will you able to understand?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes. Yes, Dipti.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. I understand.
Is it clear or not?
Yes, sir. Yes, I got it.
Uh, so the fifth method, which I will talk about, is syllogism. So this is the last method. Aristotle proposed a form of deductive argument of reasoning. आपने जरूर ही सिलोगिज्म के बारे में पढ़ा होगा जिसमें इंडक्टिव डिडक्टिव आता है. So this concept has given by him. Aristotle proposed a form of deductive argument of reasoning from general to particular. So एक larger picture से एक particular पे पहुंचना. So it consists of a major premise, a minor premise, and a conclusion. So we'll talk about this.
Could you repeat the term of this
Yeah,
methodology?
syllogism.
Spelling, sir?